I guess. I've been really exhausted this week. So I thought today we could talk about vintage jewelry, which is one of my favorite things to thrift. And I feel like I don't talk a lot about it or share much about the pieces I find. And maybe that's because I don't really sell vintage jewelry. I'm just buying it for myself. But I think that's also what makes it so exciting. And I did a big post yesterday about how to thrift the Juju Vera look. And Juju Vera is one of my favorite jewelry designers of the moment. Her stuff is available, I'm pretty sure, only on her website and on Moda Operandi. But I like it because it's very vintage inspired. It looks like stuff that I would see at estate sales and thrift stores. And it's she does have some fine jewelry, some stuff with like gems, but most of it is just metals, silver, gold, brass, and it's expensive. I mean, the necklaces are like $500-$600. It's not as expensive as like a Tiffany diamond necklace or something, but it is always sold out. Like always, always, always sold out. It's kind of like this it girl vibe, especially here on Substack. So many people write about Juju Vera and take OOTD selfies wearing the necklaces. I would love one of the necklaces. I haven't been able to find one, and I don't know that I want to spend that much on it. Maybe eventually, we'll see. But I scoured the internet and found a bunch of pieces that are very Juju Vera-esque. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I think like 4 or 5 of the pieces have already sold that I shared yesterday, and most of them were from Etsy. But today I wanted to show you some other really cool pieces of vintage jewelry that I have, and I'll tell you where I got them and hopefully what I paid. I honestly don't always remember what I paid, but just in general, vintage jewelry, I really never pay more than like $40 for a piece if I'm at a thrift store or an estate sale. I just have so much amazing costume jewelry, and I've gotten it for so inexpensive that it's hard for me to pay a lot. These earrings are from an estate sale. I thought I would mention them. I never wear them, and then I put this top on today, which is thrifted. This is like a really cool vintage, probably 1970s. It's beautiful. I think it's handmade. It doesn't have a tag or anything, and it has this beautiful sheer like organza material at the bottom. But I just really love this, and I love the puff sleeve and the turtleneck, and it has clasps in the back. And I thought it would be fun with these earrings. I don't know, together it's sort of giving Isabel Marant, but I got these at an estate sale. They're like clearly very Native American. They are sterling silver, and I think I paid like $5 for them. And they have some turquoise in there. They're really fun. Okay. I shared the belt buckles that I got at a thrift store in the newsletter maybe 2 weeks ago. The newsletter was called I'm Begging You to Look in the Case, because I have found so many incredible things in glass cases at thrift stores and antique malls. This is one really excellent example. I got not only this piece, but like 5 other brass belt buckles, all at the same thrift store. They were all behind glass. They were $20 each, which is a lot because I bought all of them, but so worth it. They look kind of Christopher Ross-esque. They're not Christopher Ross. Christopher Ross was an incredible belt buckle designer, and his stuff is like wildly expensive. Even if you find it at an estate sales, usually expensive. But these are Mimi DN. It's Mimi, and then the second word is D-I, and then an N. You will see Mimi's stuff a lot if you go thrifting into estate sales. And some of it is really killer. Actually, one of the pieces I included in the newsletter yesterday is by Mimi. I think she also made handbags as well as belt buckles and jewelry. Anyway, I love these because of the eyes. I think that to me is what separates like a standard really cool vintage belt buckle from a really insane vintage belt buckle, when the eyes are like little glass or sort of marble-esque eyes. This piece is also great because of the size, pretty substantial, and it's just really fun. I also think some of these belt buckles, like, I mean, it's definitely a belt buckle, but you could probably somehow attach this to either a pin or a chain and wear it as a necklace if you wanted to do that. I think that could be kind of fun. Okay. This is one of my like earliest vintage designer finds. I got this in high school. It is very old. This is a Karl Lagerfeld piece. I also got this at a glass case behind glass at an antique mall. This was like so long ago, before Google Images, maybe even before Google. This piece is really, really special to me because it says Lagerfeld all the way around and it's in all different colors, like all the letters. So Karl Lagerfeld, he did his own line of costume jewelry back in the 80s and 90s. It's super, super collectible. The Lagerfeld name has since been, I don't want to say tarnished, but it's different now. When you go to a Nordstrom Rack or a Marshalls and you see Karl Lagerfeld, that is licensed stuff. Karl Lagerfeld himself did not design that. That is the Karl Lagerfeld brand now is very different than what it was in the 80s and 90s with the jewelry. Um, the new Lagerfeld stuff is like made overseas. It's not couture. It's not even what I would call contemporary designer. It's just mass marketed, like factory made stuff. But as you probably know, Karl Lagerfeld, after he had his namesake, or during the time he had his namesake jewelry line, he designed for a lot of big fashion houses, including Chanel and Fendi. And what's interesting about this particular bracelet and this design is that he used this at both Fendi and Chanel. There were some bags that they did at Fendi while he was at the helm that said Fendi in the block letters with all different colors on the letters, and Chanel also did that. I think even today Chanel makes sunglasses that say Chanel in the multicolored letters on the side. So this piece to me was really important because you can tell this like inspired his later work. This was probably 20 bucks. Like I said, I got it in high school. The cool thing about Karl Lagerfeld is his pieces, the jewelry pieces are signed. So this says KL in a cursive script. I get up from a lot of people asking me, how do you know this isn't Kenneth J. Lane? Usually the Kenneth J. Lane stuff actually says Kenneth J. Lane on it, or it says KJL. I've never seen the stuff that just says KL. Also, there's a very specific script that's used for the Karl Lagerfeld pieces. And I have another of his pieces that I got behind glass at an antique mall. I paid $12 for this. This is such a fun one. It's a little choker. And this one also has the KL cursive script on the back, but it also is signed with the KL script here. I like kind of went viral when I did a Instagram video about this one, and so many people just wrote fake, fake, and it's not fake. I also think people just say stuff to like try to get a rise out of you. But anyway, this piece was on First Dibs at one point. Not my piece, but I saw it on First Dibs. Like I said, I got this for $12. I think it was sold on First Dibs for like $695. The vintage Karl Lagerfeld stuff is just costume jewelry, so it's not fine jewelry, but it is still valuable mostly because of who made it and because back when he made it, he was still alive and his brand, I think, was more significant, right? Oftentimes designers will die, or I don't want to say they sell out, but like there are different levels. And maybe I should do a newsletter about this, but even with brand names like Ralph Lauren or Calvin Klein, there are Ralph Lauren items you can buy, like double RL, which is highly coveted, highly expensive, or like Purple Label or whatever. Those are very different than some of the like Ralph by Ralph Lauren that you see, that's like mass marketed, and it's really just the name has been licensed. It's not like the actual same team of designers. Similarly, like Calvin Klein, there's a Calvin Klein collection that's actually, walks on the runway, and you'll maybe see like a celebrity wearing Calvin Klein collection at the Oscars or something. That's very different from like the Calvin Klein that you see at Dillard's. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. You learn more about that when you shop vintage, but I notice it all the time when I go to Nordstrom Rack, and people will get really excited because they're like, "Oh my God, Karl Lagerfeld!" And it's like that's not the same thing. He didn't even design that. That's just like, yes, thank you, Brenda. I will do a newsletter describing that. Some of it's like, I don't know, it's hard. I feel like it's so intuitive for me. That was the challenge when I wrote my book, Big Thrift Energy. But I guess when I actually drill down and think about it, there are ways to actually determine whether something is like, I don't want to say real Ralph Lauren versus fake Ralph Lauren, but whether it's like the coveted, expensive, collectible Ralph Lauren versus whether it's like just the mass marketed stuff that is made in China and produced by the thousands, and sold to big companies like TJ Maxx or whatever. So I will do a newsletter about that. Okay, here's another fun one. I don't know if I've ever shared this. This is like one of my favorite things I've ever found. I got this at an incredible estate sale in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, probably around 5 years ago. I remember it was, yeah, maybe between 4 and 5 years ago. My mom had recently moved in with us, and I took her to the doctor, and then there happened to be an estate sale nearby in a gated community, fancy house. This house was amazing. They had Frank Stella artwork on the walls. Frank Stella is one of my favorite artists. His art is in museums, huge museums. And I tried to be really sly, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun art. Is this for sale? Would you take an offer?" And the estate sale people were like, "That is not for sale. We know that that is a Frank Stella, ma'am. Please move aside." Anyway, I think if you go into an estate sale, and they have like insane art, that is such a good sign that you need to scour every inch of that house. These people had, this was during COVID, or like maybe in the beginning of COVID. So we were all wearing masks. There weren't a ton of people there. I think they were only letting in like 10 people at a time. And I got some really incredible jewelry, a really cool handbag, which I didn't share a couple weeks ago when I did the handbag series. I'll have to do another one. And I got this. This is an artist made, it's signed on the bottom. It just says jewelry. So I don't know, but it's like stamped, like engraved on it. It's a little dragonfly, I guess, and it's ceramic. And it is, it's so cool. It's a pin, as you can see. I wore this once. I pinned it here because it's kind of fun and funny, and it looks like you have a little bug on your shoulder. I think this could also be like the coolest ring if I could figure out how to turn this into a ring. I just think this is like the most amazing thing. I could have sold this probably, but I don't have any desire to. It's very special to me. And the fact that it came from a house that had Frank Stella in it is so cool. Like, this guy used to look at, multi-million dollar artworks all day. And you know what? I think I paid $5 for this. So that was a good find. Let's see what else. Let's talk about pins. Grasshopper. Yeah. What did I say? Did I not say grasshopper? I said dragonfly. Yes, it's obviously a grasshopper. I do know the difference between those two things. I think people stay away from brooches at thrift stores. That would be a big mistake. You know why? Because you can so easily turn these into necklaces. This is a particularly fun one. It's not signed, but every time I share this, I get like 3 different people DM me on Instagram saying, "I have that too." So these were obviously mass marketed, and a lot of people have them. So cool. It's half a face. I like how the pin is this way because I can just loop a chain through it and wear it as a pendant. And you would never know the difference. It looks super, super modern. I think pins can just be hard to wear, or most people think they can. One thing I like to do with pins, and I did an Instagram Reels about this, I should probably do a Substack about it too. I put them on a blazer and I cover the buttons with different pins, and it looks like you're wearing Schiaparelli. It's like such a cool couture thing to do. Another great pin that is a thrift find, this little envelope, this is Givenchy. Givenchy is another very well-known, very high-end label. They made costume jewelry in the 90s and 80s, and maybe still continue to do so, I'm not sure. But I found so much vintage Givenchy. Again, costume, so not worth a lot in the sense that it's made of valuable materials, but worth a lot because it is branded, and Givenchy pieces are always signed on the back, and they have a little logo. One tip I have, if you want to start getting really, really good about finding designer things at thrift stores, is to familiarize yourself with logos of brands, not just the brand names themselves, but the logos. A really good example of this is I found a Lanvin tray at a Goodwill within the past year. and it didn't say L'Enfant, but it had the logo, the emblem, which is like this sort of nymph fairy woman. And so I recognized it immediately. I think it was $7. It probably came from one of their makeup or perfume counters. And yeah, it's just a really cool piece. But similarly with Givenchy, like sometimes with the jewelry, it's written so small that unless you know the name of unless you know the logo, like you're familiar with the logo, you might pass it by. This one though actually says Givenchy on it. It's like a little envelope. It says Givenchy and Paris and the address of the fashion house. This is another one that I use as a little pendant, and I just string a cord to it. And you could do a cord or you could do a brass chain. And you can wear it however you want. But and again, this would be a cool one to wear on a blazer, like to cover buttons and have different buttons all the way down. Okay, I think, oh, two more. This is a really fun sun piece. This is not signed. I have no clue who made this. Kind of looks like vintage Anne Klein to me, but the thing I like most about this one is not only the sun, but the length of the chain. I talk about this a lot, but to me, I'm really into drama. And I think with jewelry, oftentimes drama comes in like the size. Is it really big, like my grasshopper friend? Is it like really, really tiny? That can also be dramatic if something's really tiny and diminutive. Or does it just have like a really big, bold chain? This chain is very, very long, as you can see. I like wearing this with a strapless dress and, like a strapless, just like very plain dress. And yeah, just really cool. This is actually so long though, you could wrap it twice, and keep it a little bit shorter, which is kind of fun. I got this at a thrift store. I think this one was $40. So out of everything I'm showing you, this was the most expensive. Isn't that kind of crazy? Because this isn't even signed or anything. It is quite heavy though. Yeah, and it was behind glass at a thrift store, but I just asked them to get it out for me. Okay, final one is my favorite piece. And I don't know that I've ever shared this, but I got this also probably back in high school at an antique mall. It's just a pendant. It did not come with a chain. I have it looped onto this, which is something, it's like from a dress, a thrifted dress. So currently it looks like a medal. Like it looks like I've won the Olympics. It's not a medal. It is a insane pendant. And this is by Cadoro. You can Google it and you will find some of these online. It's Cadoro. I bought this just because I thought it was like fabulous and fascinating. I think it was $5. And then a few months later, I was looking at Vogue and they had one in there, which is so weird because it's vintage. But it was like on one of those editors picks pages or something. And they are typically more expensive. But is this not the most amazing thing you've ever seen? I think this kind of gives the Juju Vera look. I love the little danglies. It's obviously missing a couple pieces there, but I don't care. It also feels to me like if you've ever seen the boxes designed by Kelly Wearstler, it is fun and whimsical, and I think the jewels make it, but also the shape of the bird, which is kind of like wonky and abstract. I absolutely adore this piece. The pendant's a little strange because it's like this. So, you can just tie something to it. But yeah, I just have this with it. But again, every time I wear this, it looks like I've won the Olympics, which frankly, the Olympics should redesign their medals because this is way cooler, right? Anyway, so that's it. Those are all of my finds for the week, and they're not even finds that I found this week. These are just from like years, and some of them were recently. But as always, let me know what you guys want to see. Like, is there any particular thing you want me to cover, art or jewelry, or like any particular find that you've seen of mine? I could talk about my Fornasetti desk. That will be a little bit difficult to show on camera, but I think that would be kind of fun. Or I could do my Goyard trunk. Those are both probably my biggest finds. I also have an incredible, I have many incredible pieces of art. I have an entire storage unit full of stuff, and then I also have an art closet, which is like also a little mini storage unit for all of my art. I am also planning, plotting, have already started writing a huge hero post for What's Left, my Substack. And it is going to be how to thrift, like how to find valuable stuff at the thrift store. Obviously, everything I do is kind of about this. I wrote a book about this, Big Thrift Energy, but I wanted to do kind of a top line thrift store only newsletter that you could bookmark and that I can add to again and again. Um, and that one will have like my biggest tips and specifically be about how to find really valuable pieces of home stuff at the thrift store. And then maybe I'll do a separate one about fashion. I haven't quite decided yet. And then to coincide with that, I would like to do a workshop um, where I can go live and we can talk for like 45 minutes to an hour and I can answer questions in real time. And so I think I'll probably do the post first and then the live after. Maybe I'll announce the live in the post. Obviously, with all these lives, they're recorded and you guys can look at them after, but I really, really like when you chime in and talk to me. Like, see, these comments are making me really excited. Yes, first of all, thank you for saying you love my writing. That's really kind of you. Small pieces of furniture I've thrifted. That would actually be a really good one because I'm really into thrifting like tiny stools, which can have so much impact. And also, if you're interested in selling, stools sell quite well. And when they're really tiny, they're easy to ship. Also, art. Robin, I see that you just mentioned that you'd like me to show my art sometime, which is like something I never talk about, but I am an artist and I sell my art. And you may have seen on Instagram recently, Jennifer Love Hewitt has a piece of my art, which was a surprise to me and really fun. And to be honest with you, I don't talk about my own art much on Instagram because the algorithm hates it when I talk about anything other than thrifting. And I get like massive unfollows if I share something that's not about thrifting. Once I even shared on stories just a picture of my lunch and someone DM'd me, stick to thrifting. It makes me cry. I'm laughing because, like, am I not supposed to eat lunch? Anyway, but here on Substack, I can talk about anything. So definitely, I also think this is not a thrift store thing, but I do think it could be fun to talk about my new art. Not that I've painted, but that I collect, like this fabulous Marilyn Minter piece. Because art is super, super important for all of our lives. And it is also an excellent, excellent investment. I did write about this piece in a Substack, but this is a print. I think she made 30 of them. And I bought one really, really quickly. And it's already gone up like 3 times in value from when I bought it, which is crazy. Yes, and no lunch for me because I'm talking too much about art. Anyway, yeah, so I think on Sunday, the post is going to be about where I thrifted when I went to Central Florida recently. And I shared those thrift finds in my last video. And I'm also going to share some stuff I saw and didn't buy. So that'll be a fun one. And then maybe next week will be the big behemoth, how to thrift for valuable things, how to find valuable things at the thrift store, whatever. I'm still workshopping the titles. Anyway, thanks guys, as always, for tuning in and look for the next Substack on Sunday. Bye.